Dear participants, a very good morning and welcome you all to the day 5 of the FDP on research methodology, tools and techniques. We have our first speaker with us live from Denmark today, Dr. Ambuj Kumar. Dr. Ambuj Kumar is presently working with Department of Business Development and Technology, Aarhus University, Denmark. He is a part of CTIF Global Capsule, CGC, which has its centers all over the world. He has industry experience in the field of telecommunications and RF engineering with companies like Alcatel-Lucent, Hutch India, Lucent Technologies, Vihan Networks Limited, etc. He has completed and currently working with a number of international projects under European Union. His expertise areas are wireless communications, telemedicine, business modeling and technology, smart and ambient assistant living, visible light communications, Internet of Things, information and communication technologies, and artificial intelligence. For his session today, he will be covering project proposal writing for you all. Dr. Ambuj, I welcome you all on behalf of the IILM fraternity, and we have a lot of participants waiting to listening to your talk. So let me hand over to you, and you may continue the session now. Thank you.
Yeah, so am I on live now? But I want to share my screen, so wait, please. Yeah. So is it visible now, my screen? Can people see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So good. Thank you, Dr. Purnima, for introducing me, and very good morning to all the viewers here. And myself is Dr. Ambuj Kumar from Denmark, and I belong to Department of Business Development and Technology, Aarhus University, Henning campus. The Aarhus University is the second biggest university in Denmark, and it's like it has a capacity of around 40,000 students and staff combined together. So it is quite big as compared to the a country which has a population of only 5 million. And I'm in the city which is number 17th, and it has a population of 47,000. So you can imagine what is the ratio of education versus the population. So it's like, okay, my neighbor is waving me and he's saying that it is 6:30 and it is time of a walk, not to give a presentation. So yeah, so yes, so I might feel that there might be some break in the network. So if I can stop my video, because I think sometimes it happens that but I think I don't see a button to stop the video sharing, but that's okay. If my call is breaking, then you can understand it's because of the video. So I hope, oh boy, people are out for a jog. So I think same I wish the same for India. And I hope that everyone is quite well acquainted with this new platform of virtual meetings, and we should be glad that we have the technologies to support this. If you can imagine how people were managing their things in way back in 1918 when the similar thing happened, and there was a lot of catastrophic incidents happened long back, about 100 years back. So we have a technology to keep us entertained and keep us engaged and keep us linked, communicate. So, but this technological journey is not like in a one day or something. It was a continuous process of development, and this development was only possible because we have been through a lot of researches and lot of manufacturing, and there is certain process to go through from the research to the manufacturing thing, and all the things, all the steps, they required a good amount of funding. So a lot of funding was poured, was invested in this development. So you can understand that what I mean to say here is that the concept of seeking the fund is a very is very important in the entire development of human society. So this is what I'm going to talk about, that how to seek funding. Because I am normally involved in European funding, so I'll be talking on the context of how the funding, how we should approach for European funding. But I think it is a very generic thing that I'm saying here, because this will be applicable to any country or any region who is putting up calls for such kind of funding. So let's begin, and welcome to my presentation again. And so before moving ahead, let me introduce myself. Although Dr. Purnima has already introduced me in a good way, but just to give a, because if I'm saying something, it should be is like why I am saying something and why I have this authority to give this presentation. So I did my graduation from or engineering from BIT Mesra, and after that I have been working in these companies, what you can see here in the presentation. And I was involved in both for the service provider and vendor companies. So there are also some minor or small companies that I work for short duration, but those are, I have not mentioned here. But these are the main what do you call my career contributors. So after my jobs, I went to Denmark and did my PhD from Aalborg University in wireless communication, and especially smart antennas. And then I switched to Aarhus University in the Department of Business Development and Technology, where I am here. And my responsibility here in this department, or let's say Aarhus University, is to give lectures, to handle projects, to supervise students and research projects, and to carry out research and publications. And last but not the least, and for the reason I am here, is proposal writing or seeking funding. So mainly when you seek fund, you write a proposal to actually apply funding. So how to prepare this proposal and what should be, it's a basic guideline, because I can understand that people who are not into this area might not be knowing even the basics about that. It's perfectly all right, because not everyone has been through this process. But I would like to show how important it is. Maybe you know the importance, because the fundings are always, you might be hearing that the funding has been sorted by certain departments or organizations. Let's say ISRO, they have sought fundings for their developments and sending the rockets to the moon and all that. So you might be hearing what funding is. So I'm here to actually let you know how to approach for that funding through the proposal. So let's start with this. So first thing is that why you need a funding. So it is a basic question that whenever I'm saying or I'm presenting my lecture, and this is a common question which probably the people who are not knowing, they might ask that why the funding is needed. So let's say if you have some ambition or some idea that you want to fulfill, let's say like Elon Musk, who has an company SpaceX to send people to the Mars. So that kind of big idea, or even the smaller ideas, maybe if you want to solve some smaller issues or target some small things. So if you have some small idea, you might be thinking that idea, and you might have some solution for that idea, might know how to do this, and so you are dreaming that. But in reality, this is not an easy thing, and you need a lot of resources to actually do the whole thing. So to make it as a project and get it done. So the resources are normally in two forms, two wide forms. I mean, you can be more granular in this in this context, but then there are majorly two things. One is the skill. Skill is the ability of a person to deliver some action, and another is the material. Material is like getting, it can be getting some resources, or maybe real material like raw material, let's say steel, uh, oil, or whatever, and also the other capabilities like manufacturing capabilities or development capabilities. They are also sometimes can be considered as a material or the resource. So for these things, they don't come for free. You need to have funding for such things. So the funding can be in the two forms. One is the direct funding that you can seek from the various funding agencies, or you can get it as a letter of as a support from the various stakeholders. So by stakeholders, I mean that the organization or the people or the sectors which are benefiting from your idea. So let's say if you have this idea of sending a rocket to the Mars, then you are actually benefiting ISRO and NASA. So they might be your stakeholders in this project. So so this is now what are the, let's say if you start if you want to see that what could be the most interesting areas to look for funding, or what could be the most interesting areas which I would say that hot cake or happening around the world, is I would say that in I would let you know in the form of funding scopes. And the first section is the core science. I mean, there is a lot of scope still in the core science where you actually work on the basic science. So whether it is a chemical engineering or chemistry, or whether it is a physics, or whether it is nuclear physics and genetic engineering, molecular and microbiology, or the latest one that has come up is virology, because a lot of funding has been issued for any solutions to deal with the COVID-19. And like all the countries have diverted their funds toward research and development in this area. So virology, that's why I have marked this in purple. And the things that are marked in blue are actually the areas that need to collaborate with the big organizations, because they are not easy to, this is not a job of a few people or few organizations. So like nuclear physics, space science, and quantum physics are also very hot, but they need bigger funding, and they need a lot of big collaborations to perform your task. So next is in the funding scope is the innovative technologies. So there are some what I would say the most happening innovative technologies around the world, which might attract quick funding if you have some good idea in this area. So this is quantum computing, then it is nanotechnologies, and like semiconductor device technologies. You might see that I'm looking on that side because I have a big screen over there to look what is happening, because yeah, I feel comfortable on looking that side, but still don't think that I have a problem in vision. So So it's like semiconductor technologies. Then cube satellites are also very hot thing, because you can have smaller satellites for smaller tasks, and then you can that you can mount on the space vehicles. And then you have defense. It is marked red because it needs a lot of collaborations, and there are very stringent processes in that. And then communication technologies, as you might be aware, probably the group that has made this what do you call whole FDP possible belongs to, I think, communication, by electronics and communication, or maybe computer science. So I mean, you might be knowing well the 5G. And then energy technologies, which are like non-conventional energy technologies, like solar powers or windmills. If you have some good ideas in these areas in non-conventional technologies, then you have a good opportunity to seek funds. And then they are the core, or maybe require huge collaborations. But there are also sectors which can be uh, uh, which can seek fund, even when it is a very small what did you say group, or a small research group can also seek funding in this area. And these are the IoT, that is Internet of Things. And also I forgot to put here is also ICT, which is an umbrella for all the information and communication technologies. But IoT research can be related projects, can be made in smaller groups, because the cost of equipment and things are not that expensive. So you can have a good opportunity to bang on in this area. Then artificial intelligence, it can be a huge group also, and also in smaller groups you can also target some of the challenges, and you can actually seek funds in that. Then you have blockchain, which is very happening these days, and due to this new paradigm shift that is happening due to COVID-19, the blockchain is also very important, is playing very important role, especially in digital currency, and streamlining the manufacturing process and all those things. So you can actually seek funding in this area. Then the most prominent area, which is going to be in like very promising and going to be in reality very soon, like many of the companies or the governments are using, and they might be putting more funds in further population of the use of drones. So drones is also a very hot cake these days, and it can also lead to a lot of funding. And then telemedicine, what is most required. I mean, this has just come up due to the COVID-19 thing, because now the using the ICT to give the medical aids, or maybe to medical support, is also very has boomed up very recently. And digital avatars are actually creating artificial intelligence based what do you call avatars, which can actually respond to your requirements. So like the Google or IBM, they all already working on that, and they are also trying to combine the avatars with artificial intelligence and quantum computing. So there is a lot of scope in that, and a lot of ideas are coming in that. So this is also a hot cake in this time. So next is the funding scope in area of economy, environment, quality of life, and society. So it is not just a core technology that can seek fund, but other areas which are also good for the society, and which are probably the very promising uh, to say that. Sorry about this car, but that's fine. So so the first is the economy. Economy is basically, if you are into a digital economy, then you have a good chance of having funding. And if your ideas can uplift the social status, and this need not to be purely technical, but could be more societal, or if you want to improve, if you want to seek funding to improve some process that can uplift the social stratum. So it is also very welcomed here, at least in Europe, and I hope the same should be there in other countries also, like India and like Africa. Africa is coming up very nicely in uplifting their social status, and also there is a good section of funding for the startups, because startup is also considered as economy boosters, because you are not only creating a solution, but also you are creating an opportunity for jobs, and this is very much welcome in, at least in Europe and US, and other Western countries. And I have seen that in India, this has also picked up a lot of acceleration. So I can see that I think in last year, I think there were more than 10,000 new startups that have come up in India, which are working successfully. And there are also many startups that are coming up to provide solutions in the COVID-19 situation. So it's a good sign for the economy and for the self-reliance of our country. And the next is the environment. And as you know, that this is a very concerning area for, I mean, it's a global concern. So anything that any novel thing or any good thing that you have in this area can seek good funding. So environmental means that if you have some idea to contain the pollution, whether it is air, water, or sea and river and whatever, soil pollution, whatever, if you can have some idea which can use the technology or the process to contain these things, then it is a very useful or very important for the, as a global cause. Then as again, the ocean and underwater life is also a very very concerned area, because of increasing pollution, we are actually killing the underwater life and ocean ecosystem. So a lot of I mean, at least from 2020 to next 7 years, there will be lot of calls across the world, which might be in collaboration with the EU, India, or other countries. Like India can also come up with, should come up with such areas where we are concerned with oceans and underwater life. And then again, the wildlife and ecosystem, again, to save wildlife, or maybe to have how to make this whole, it is like about how to make this planet more sustainable and habitable. So these are the initiatives towards this area. So mainly talking about the environment is actually having a healthier planet. So any solutions or any initiative in this area is very promising.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you speak a bit louder, sir?
Oh yeah, actually it's a peaceful country. So if I shout, then I might be the center of attraction. But then, is it fine now?
Yes, sir. Now it is fine, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sure. So the next is the quality of life of people. So mainly caring elderly is also very much like attractive as far as funding is concerned. So if you have some idea how to take care of elderly people using the ICT or improving the process or like that, so it is very much welcome. And this also includes smart cities, transport, and healthcare, smart healthcare. Although this belongs to ICT, but they are considered as the improving the quality of life. So this is how I mean, your funding scopes can be categorized in three major areas, and then you can decide which area you want to seek. Obviously, you will look around the problems that you want to solve through your project, and then you can seek funding for that. So, I mean, basically, what is the approach of seeking a fund? So there are two ways which people take to seek fund. But let's say if you have, the thing is that you see a problem and then you do some groundwork, and then you have an idea for that, and then you actually create a group of skills that can convert your idea into reality, and then you find the resources or the material or the processes, and you identify them, and then you know that how much time it will take to complete your project. This is very important because when you are seeking fund, you must know how much timeline you need to complete that project. So, and then you actually look for the right agency or right call to seek your fund. So you have a problem and you know this how to go for it, and then you seek the funding. The other way is that you see the call, you identify a call, you create a what do you call problem, or maybe you identify a problem according to the call, and then you do all other process. So this is also a way to approach for funding, which I would say are not very nice, because then you lose the whole objective of problem and solution, problem and funding. So uh, normally in that case, the investigation is totally converged towards the what fundings are available and not on what problems you are going to solve. So, but then yes, it all depends on you, how you want to approach for a funding. So what is a proposal process? It was same that I discussed in last slide, but it's again, let me be more specific on that. So you have an idea, then you break the ideas into the objectives, that what are the objectives of this idea, what are the problems that you are going to solve with your project, or what are the new things that you are bringing to the society with this objective, with this idea. And then when you have collection of objectives, you try to create a concept. I mean, then you build a concept, you know the concept, you describe the concept. So as you see that I have made this idea, I picture a very abstract. So because idea is abstract, and when you develop a concept, it becomes more sleek, more converged, and more nice. So from idea to concept, this is what you call essential if you want to have a good hold on the project, and if you want to have a good hold on the proposal, because when you propose, your concept should be very clear. So each objective you can divide into some activity. Like if you have an objective, how you want to attain that objective. So you make a task for that, or activity for that we call as work package. And then against each objective there can be one or multiple work packages, and each work package has certain sub activities. So this is how we normally number the task. For example, work package 1 has sub activity or task 1.1, task 1.2, task 2.1, task 2.2 for work package 2, and so on. So this is this is what you do for all the objectives that you define for your idea. And then you can allocate your objectives to the partners. Now here the partners are not the people but the organization, because for most of the cases the funding is given to the organization or to the companies. Even if you want to seek funding, probably you need to be a startup, whether it is a single person startup or a group of people who are doing the startup. So if individual, getting like funding as a person is not in this paradigm. You need to have, there should be an organization which has a purpose. So if you have a startup and you have a purpose to make a rocket that can go to the Mars, you can only seek funding which has seek calls which has funding for space research and space exploration. So that is how it is. So your partners are here, like Aarhus University and IILM. You can dedicate the activities to the partners, and these partners then they can hire people or maybe involve their own resources to handle these activities. So they will say that to conduct each activity, how many people are required. So the collection of such information, what we and then also yes, you will. I mean, each partner will define what will be the methodology to approach for to have this what do you call activity done. So so partners basically they allocate people, and then they also define the methodology to make this activity happen. And then they also kind of say that what impact it is going to create for the society and for the uh, for the for the particular area, for the particular theme. Like for example, space exploration, what contribution you want to give to the exploration, or for the elderly care, or for the societal benefit and all that. So they clearly describe that with this process what is impact that this process will create, or this activity will create. And then of course, then because then you decide that how many people will be involved to carry out this particular activity. So they each partner evaluates the person months. I mean, how many people for how many months will be working to carry out this activity. And once this is decided, then you form the budget and the timeline. So budget should fit well within the bracket of the call. So if a call is, let's say, says that maximum funding is 5 million euros, so your budget should not exceed 5 million euros. So that's why this is marked as red, because this is very important to converge your entire process within that bracket of funding bracket. So what are the call categories? Basically, three kinds of categories, which I will say here. It's innovation call, research and innovation action, and research calls. So these are the three kind of calls, or the funding calls, to be more specific, that you can approach. So like, what is the difference between these three calls? So I would put everything together. So the thing is that if you are going for innovation calls, it's basically you're using the existing technology to develop something. So let's say if you want to build a robot that can serve a tea, or that can, or maybe a machine that measures the early morning parameters of an elderly person. So this is already using the existing sensors or maybe the communication devices, and you are developing something from the existing knowledge. So very few new knowledge is created, but you have something from the existing knowledge. So that is an innovation call, and that is the of the highest TRL. TRL means technology readiness level. I'll be discussing that later. But that will be the highest TRL. That is, the product is ready for the market use, and it is just ready to get manufactured and put into the market. So research and innovation actions is like there is a bit of knowledge already available, and then you are developing some more knowledge on the top of that. And you either, it won't end up in the market, but it will be either in the form of prototype or good concept, or maybe some pilot or like that. So this is an intermediate thing, and it is a medium TRL, because you are ending up to the prototype. And then what do you call, then there are research calls, which are purely, like as I said, that in core science or core technology, if you're developing something new that has never existed before. So it is a beyond state of the art situation, because whatever is the latest until now is considered as state of the art, and whatever you are building on the top is the beyond state of the art thing. So this is why it is called as low TRL, because it is not ready technologically to be put up in the market. So that's why these are the three sectors, or the three categories of the calls. And as you can see, that the leaders of these particular innovation calls, for example, innovation calls is basically led by industry. So you need to have a group of consortium where the industry is the leader of the project, because they will be taking the whole concept into the manufacturing and finally putting up things into the market. Whereas research and innovation action, it can be either industry or academia, but primarily the universities are majorly involved in this research and innovation actions, because there's a lot of research needs to be done while the project is going on. And then purely research calls is obviously the universities or the academia thing. So like, for example, if you have heard about the CERN laboratory, which is dealing with the subatomic particles, so that is mainly dealing with the research activities, and that is seeking funding purely for the research. So it is a research organization, and I would say it as an academic organization. So it falls in the category of academia. So that's how it is. The call categories are. So I will be skipping this animation because, yeah, but let's discuss, like, if you have an idea to send a rocket to the Mars, then if it has not been done yet, then you are doing some basic research, which belongs to to research, the lowest most, the research call. So first you'll go for the research call to actually develop the basic concepts and proof of concept, create a proof of concepts, and create a kind of the basic elements that are required for the development of the rocket. And then if you create a prototype, then you are actually into RIA actions, because then it takes your research into some prototyping. And then eventually when you have built your rocket, then it is an innovation call. So in single process, you can see that all the three calls can be sought. So now I'll describe a few things about the TRL, what I said earlier. So it's like, as you can see that highest TRL, which is TRL9, is the actual system proven in the operational environment, and like in manufacturing and key enabling technologies or in space. So it's like when you have things actually in the market, you have manufactured and put into the market. So so this is what you say as TRL9. And again, like RIA, like 7, 8, 9 are basically for innovation actions, or maybe 8 or 9, but 5 to 7 or 4 to 7 are basically RIA actions, and 1, 2, 3 are basically what do you call research actions. So this is how your TRL. So based on your TRL, you should look for what kind of call is there. So in the call, it is clearly mentioned that it is RIA or research or innovation actions. So now preparing for the proposal. So I'm taking an example from EU website, from where we see it is a centralized website for all the European projects, and the same thing is also I think replicated in other countries also. So most of the countries there have their own funding bodies, and that is available, that you can apply through website. So let's say this is what is the typical EU funding website looks like, and like as you can see, some information are already there. So you know that what is your funding body, and then you know that what kind of call it is. So you can clearly see that it is written here. Here it is written RIA and innovation action. So so it is like research and innovation action. So this call is actually for research and innovation action, and you can see that there is a project name, there's a project ID, and there's a deadline for your this is very important, because if you cross even a second after a deadline, your proposal will not be accepted. So this is I have also worked for an Indian project, and I have seen that just a second after this deadline, the proposal cannot be accepted. So we were lucky to submit right in time. So yeah, so now if you click, the very important thing is the work program. So if you click, this is very important document because it says everything about the call, what you need to focus and how you need to focus, and what are the things that you must include in your proposal for it to look more convincing. So it is like, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to zoom it because I can understand that because in the absence of real projector or big screen, this might not be visible, but that's not important that you can see everything. What is important that you have a document that describes everything about the call. And as you can see, there are every day when you look into this website, you'll find thousands of calls available, and you need to look for right call. That's why the process from the problem to the call investigation, call identification is important, because you know your problem and then you can find your call easily. So let's say if you click on this particular what you call program or the call, you will see the details about that call, and it is very clearly mentioned that what you should do, what you must include in your project proposal writing to be accepted. Because if you don't include these things, whatever, howsoever nice your idea is, it will not be accepted. And by the way, the average acceptance rate for any kind of funding is between 7 to 13%. So maximum is the 13% that has ever gone in any financial year. So again, you look for the type of action, specific challenge, and the scope of the call. So specific challenge is basically what are the things that you should actually, what is basically the theme of the call that you should actually take care. Like for example, here you can see that it is talking about elderly care through ICT. So and there is a bit of description in that. So you need to address these if you have some idea. So you will describe your idea in such a way that it should address the specific challenge. And scope is basically what are the details that you need to put in describing your, what I would say, proposal. So specific challenge is that the challenge that you are actually addressing, and the scope is the what are the details and what is the information that your project must convey when you are writing your proposal. Because if this information is missing, the evaluators will find your proposal not valid for the fund. So this is a generic proposal template, and I mean, this is typical EU, but I have seen that a lot of Indian fundings or maybe other countries, they follow the same structure. May not be exactly the same, but it's like more or less the same, because it's just like, even if you're writing your research topic, let's say if you're writing a paper for your publication, this I mean, that also covers these areas. So for the funding, it is or funding proposal, it is a bit more detailed, whereas for the what do you call it, journal papers, it is more vague and abstract. So here they are very specific, because of the fact that there are thousands of proposals that come for every call, and the evaluators need to go through all the sections. So here they say that section 1, 2, and 3 will be evaluated. So whatever you write in section 1, 2, and 3, I will let you know in the later slides. So whatever things are there in section 1, 2, and 3, they will be evaluated. So like normally if we have 15 marks for each proposal, and each section has 5 marks, and we must, to get our proposal at least to be reviewed, we must have at least 3.6 marks for each section. So I will show you what are these sections, and I think this is a generic for almost all kinds of proposals. And then you should also be very much particular about the page limit, because if it is 70 pages and if it crosses 71 or 70.5, the proposal will not be accepted. So, and also they say that don't run for the page limit. Let's say if it is 70 pages, don't go for 70 pages. You can complete your proposal in 50 pages also, but it should contain all the information and it should be crispy. So what they actually look for is a very crisp writing, and it all depends on your writing skills. So that's why whenever from now onwards, if you have this course of technical writing, you should take it very seriously, because they actually involve the way to write the technical things into a proposal. So when I actually got into this kind of thing, then I realized why the technical writing was taught to us when I was in my engineering. So this is how it is related. So then there are other important things that you need to see, that the minimum font size, and it should be A4 size and all those things. So usually the template itself is available for writing the proposal. So you can just choose this template and start writing a proposal. So the first section is the excellence. Of course, first thing is that you write your proposal name. It should be very attractive, and the name should be either it can be a one word or maybe a combination of words, and then what you say that if you can make it look nicer and acronym is attractive, then probably the evaluator feels more connected. So this is very important thing, that your project name and the acronym is very much relevant to the problem or the issue that you are targeting. And then there is a list of main partners, consortium partners. You list your partners, and the listing, usually the first name is the coordinator of the project, and others are your working partners. So, but this list, whatever the listing part P1, P2, P3, whatever the listing you give, it should be constant throughout your proposal. It should not change, because the evaluators actually evaluate which partner is contributing what. So it should be made constant throughout the project. I will be speeding up because I think I'm losing some time here. So yeah. So now the excellence, you describe it is a forehead or the introduction of your proposal, what you'll be doing throughout your proposal, and what are the things that you'll be doing in the entire proposal. And so it is like an introduction kind of your proposal. And then when you have, again, when you're talking about the objectives, so there is overall objective and there is a specific objective. So difference between overall objective is that how your idea is actually contributing to the overall work program. How it is related to, how it fits into the overall paradigm of the work program. Whereas the specific objective is what exactly are you targeting to solve. So let's say that overall work program is caring of elderly person. So your idea is towards caring of elderly person. So that is an overall objective. But the specific objective is to build a machine that can measure the early morning health parameters. So build a device, ICT based device. So that is a specific thing that you are doing. So this is the difference between the overall objective and specific objective. Then relation to the work program is actually how your objectives that you have, that I told earlier, that you split your idea into the objectives. So how your objective is actually or what is the information that each objective is generating, or what it is, how it is containing the concerns of the scope. So if your objectives are clearly related to the concerns of the work program or the scope of the work program, it is considered as a good proposal. Otherwise, it is for sure that it will not be accepted. So there is no other midway between that. And
Excuse
then,
me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, font size is very small. Can you please increase the font size, as audience
Actually,
cannot see it clearly?
Yeah, I can understand that, but this is not about because this is, I cannot increase it because it's a picture, and this is made for
Okay.
the big screen. But the thing is that not about showing the document. It is about what I'm telling here. It is just, I would say, a reference picture, because I'm saying that this is where you can find. I can understand
Okay, sir.
that people cannot see it, but if I put just a section, then people will not see it. I mean, they cannot relate where it is. So this is
Okay,
just to
sir.
show the
Okay.
entire document. So I understand that because of the limited thing that we have here. So,
Okay,
but
it's okay, sir. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. So, so now the proposal template again. The next section. When I said that there are 3 sections to be evaluated, so there are first section I've said is about the excellence, which includes the concept and which includes background, objectives, and the concept and methodology. So methodology, again, what I said is how you are going to, how your each objective will be what you call achieved. So let's say some of your objective is to carry out research about what is the best fuel to take to put into the rocket to take you to the Mars. So that needs some research outcomes. So how your research will be conducted, whether it will be done through experimenting or whether it will be done through the qualitative analysis. So you need to specify that how this, from the ideation, from the concept to the reality, how this thing will be taken into the thing. So another objective of your project should be the dissemination. How you are going to convey your knowledge to the public or to the concerned area. So let's say if I am targeting that elderly person thing, so what will be my research outcomes? So I will say that I will publish my research outcomes into these following journals. You can name the journals, and also you for the other dissemination activities, to like when you want to disseminate to the public. So other dissemination activities can be making a website, because you'll see that most of the projects that is happening, they have their own website with all the information. So that is, they create because of the dissemination activity. And also for example, they carry the workshops and conferences and all that. So this is also a methodology to carry out the dissemination activity. So this is just an example how you do the methodology thing. Then the next section is the ambition. Ambition is what is what your projects, how the project is contributing to the entire paradigm. It is about whether it is a beyond state of the art thing. Like let's say if you find something, a very good way to put people to the Mars in, let's say, 1 day or something, so you come out with a really beyond state of the art thing, because presently it will take you at least how much it was, 6 months to take you to the Mars with the best possible rockets available. But if someone can do it in let's say a few days, then it is really a beyond state of the art thing. So then you say that your ambition, or your thing is to take it to the beyond state of the art scenario. So you will describe about that. So let me tell you that for every proposal, these sections can be written differently. I mean, it is not like that you have to be in this particular way. You have to write, you have to identify what information you want to convey for in each section. So it is a very generic thing that I'm telling you, but it all depends on your writing skills and also how much in-depth investigation you have done for each kind of section. And then the next section 2 is impact. So impact is basically, if you can see it, I have slightly tried to make it. Yeah. So describe at each of the expected impacts in a work program. I mean, what is your expected impact? What is the whole impact that is going to, it is different from ambition. Ambition is something that you're telling in terms of technological advancement and in terms of the new things that you're putting into the whole the theme, or in the context, in the call context. Whereas the impact is how it is majorly, it is more generic, that how it is going to create impact, overall impact in the society and all that. So if you go to your work program, they will tell you the requirements of each section, what you need to put into each section. So again, then you have the implementation plan or the work package that I informed you earlier. So you need to briefly describe what each of your work package or activities is going to happen, what you will be doing in that. And then you have to describe your entire process with some pictorial illustrations, that is called as Gantt chart and PERT chart. So, and then you need to give the list of work packages and all that. So these are the requirements that you need to put. You need to look into this very carefully, how your work package description should be, whether they require the Gantt chart. In most of the cases, they need the Gantt chart, but there are some other requirements. There could be some other requirements that can be associated with this particular topic. So you need to be very careful, and because when we are reading the proposal, we are actually marking or highlighting these requirements. So I'm actually telling you the way you should do. You should highlight what is the requirement of the proposal in each particular section. So let's say, for example, I'm giving an example that how to write a work package. So let's say IILM has decided to put this FDP program on stream. So what actually, if someone wants to seek funding for that, what actually should be done or would have been done? So it's like there could be 4 categories of work packages: project management, or technical work package, or dissemination work package, or communication work package. So here I would say that this is the dissemination work package, because whatever the thoughts or whatever the ideas that I am sharing, or the speakers are sharing, is being disseminated to all the people. So this is a dissemination kind of work package. You need not to mention it, but you need to put it in your proposal writing that this package will be doing the dissemination activity. So let's say you should describe the participant number. So I have just considered that what should be the so let's say, yes, so I'm sorry about that. I was thinking that something else is going to come up. So again, it's your participation description. Who are your participants and what will be the person month? So if one person is working for 1 month, it is considered as 1 person months. And like 2 person for half a month, then it is also a 1 person month. And 2 person for one month is 2 person month. So this is how you describe that, how each participant and how many person months will be required for each what do you call partner. So when this particular work package starts and end, you need to clearly define this thing. And then again, the objective that I told earlier, and then description of your work that I again discussed earlier. And that you need to also describe the deliverables, what will be the outcomes of, because based on these outcomes, you decide your impact and ambition. So let's say the work package is media streaming. So it's like you have these partners. Let's say your internal departments are the partners or the partners to do that. I've just randomly named them ECE, CSE, just whatever it came in my mind. And then you decide how many people for how many months will be required to, or for how many weeks. You can also define that this is a weekly or daily months. It's up to you how you mention, but usually for we apply for 3-year projects. So normally it is in months. And then you describe your objective. Let's say that objective is to create a streamlined platform for knowledge dissemination and all that. And then let's say you describe your task that is a requirement to specification, that you will see that how much is the requirement, whether you want to use Zoom, YouTube, or maybe team meeting or WebEx or whatever is required. And then the deliverable will be the requirement specification in terms of document. So this is how you say that against one task, you can have a deliverable. And then again, the task 2 is the choosing the right platform. Then you actually identified the right platform. And then this also belongs to D1.1, because the both of these tasks can be documented in one document. And then the next is the license acquisition. So license acquisition, if you want to have a platform, then you need to acquire a license. So then the deliverable will be the acquired license. So this comes into the second deliverable. So this is a very generic and very basic description, but you need to be a lot more elaborated in that. So this is how a detail that I'm sharing this with you, the last project that we have applied for very recently. And this is how you describe your whole process, the work package, what each work package will do and how much time. So like, for example, the project management, the first work package will go through and through for the entire 3 years or 4 years, whatever. And then like others have other tasks have certain limited time periods, and they are occurring iteratively in different time periods. So like we have divided like 6 months, I think, yes, something like 6 or 7 or 8 months or 9 months, whatever. So we have yeah, it is 48 months, so it is for 4-year project. So this is how we have distributed our work package. So this is what a Gantt chart means, the clear-cut description of your efforts. And this is very important because this is normally your evaluators would relate to your actual description of work packages. So your work package, your person months, your task description should actually match with clearly match with this thing, with Gantt chart. Then again is a PERT chart, which you relate your work packages, how your work package is related, and you describe what is the task and what are the work packages. And there are some terminologies that I would like to share, because I think this slide should be slightly up, but then okay, it's fine if it is here. So in your consortium, there is a general assembly where the people, it's like general assembly are the people who are interested in your projects. So that can be the stakeholders. Stakeholders are normally the people who are not directly involved in your project, but shall benefit from your efforts. So they can belong to SMEs, to municipalities. And municipalities in Europe are very powerful. So involvement of municipality means that your battle is slightly in a better position. And then your research organizations, if you are involved with some research organization which is big, then you have again more feathers to your cap. Then there are government bodies, then institutions, and any other organization, reputed organization can be your stakeholder. Then within this assembly, there are project partners which will directly involved in your project, which will be contributing to your project, which will be related to some of the other objectives. And then within that project partners, there is a project management board. So in this project management board, there's one important person who's a project coordinator, who will communicate with this what you call the funding bodies about the updates of your project. So any issues or anything that is happening within the project, and that should be conveyed to the commission or the funding body. It should be done through this project coordinator. Then there is a project manager who takes care of the internal things, how the project is managed within the things, how the work packages are happening. If there is some problem, that person solves the problem. Then there is a technical manager who takes the technological aspects of the whole thing. I mean, everything related to the technology is happening fine. This is a very important post for a technical project, and for other projects, this can be you can name it as per your requirement. I mean, what is the need in the project. And then there are others which are the knowledge manager and dissemination manager. So again, for smaller projects, the both can be held by the same person. But for the very big projects, like if you're dealing with the projects like Airbus, or maybe let's say ISRO, or maybe any other big organizations, so they will be having different people to handle the different thing. So knowledge management is basically how you publish your knowledge and how your knowledge is stored, or how your knowledge is conveyed, all these things. And dissemination is basically conveying through websites, shows, or whatever other activities that you can. So knowledge management is more specific, and dissemination can be more public in a sense. So yes, so entire thing is known as management structure. So again, there is some few things which are there in the proposal. Again, I said that in consortium as a whole, You need to describe what is your consortium about and what are these, who will be taking care among the partners, who will be the project manager, who will be the knowledge manager, who will be the technical manager, and who will be the project coordinator. So you need to specify all these details in this information. And you can show through some illustrations that this is how your entire management structure is. Then finally, there will be some tables which you need to fill. Here are the effort table, and you read the instructions and you can find that this is an easy task. Once your section 1, 2, 3 are done, this is a very easy task. You just need to extract the information and put in these tables. And also, this is very important section that you need to say that how is your proposal is ethical, how is taking care of ethics. So there will be always some annexure or document to say about what is the ethics for a particular country. So let's say gender balances should be there in this thing. So that's why earlier we used to call person months as man months, but to make it more gender balance, now we say it as person months instead of man months. So these are the things which you need to take care in the project, that there is a good balance of good gender balance and all those things, and how you are taking care of. If you are not able to maintain the gender balance, and why you are not able to maintain, you need to justify those things here. And also the security, I mean, how like other security like GDPR, general data packet, general data privacy regulation, how you are maintaining those things. So you need to describe these things about your project. It might not be very much relevant for all the projects, but in some projects they can be very much critical. And I think yeah, so this is a section, sorry, this is a section 4. I'm probably it is very generic that you need to describe about your participants and all that. So I have just mentioned it because just to say that this will not be a part of your evaluation because but this needs to be very clear for understanding of the evaluators. And then finally, you need to set up a timeline for your proposal, how and when you should complete your section. This is very important because if you distribute your writing among the partners, because the partners will also be writing the sections of your proposal. And if partners are involved, then you need to follow the timeline, because to have a good balanced proposal, you need to set up a timeline. So this is very important when you are actually creating your consortium. First, you need to define that what is the project timeline, because if I start from here and let's say my deadline is, let's say, 3rd of July or something like that. So how, if I am starting from today, how all the milestones or the proposal milestone should be completed. So this is, thank you very much for your patience and I mean, bearing the small fonts. So that's all from my side now. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ambuj. That was a really insightful knowledge on project proposal writing, and our participants were really impressed by your presentation. So we have some questions coming up now. I'll be taking on one. And okay. The first question is how to know if one is ready for applying for funding.
As I said that one is ready for applying for funding. As I said that if you actually know your idea, if you are able to split your idea into the clear objectives, and if you are able to find the right people and resources to fulfill that idea, then you are ready for your proposal. Otherwise, whatever you do, it will not be a success. So these 3 things are very important. That's why I have shared that slide, which I made last night, because I knew that people might ask this thing, that when they will be ready. So this is the thing which you need to keep in mind.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So the next question is how to choose team members when applying for a project funding.
Again, you have an idea, you split the idea into the objectives. And once you have the objectives, you find that who will be the expert for that objective. Let's say, if I am developing a machine which can measure the health parameters of an elderly person, then I need to have a person who can make a good IoT device. So a person should be expert in IoT, both from the programming side and the manufacturing side. So either you can have a one person or two person, different person with different expertise. So you need to identify the expertise which are relevant to your objectives, and then you can form a consortium. And the thing is that there should be a good balance among the consortium. It's not that you are involving one person with most of the activities and one person is having a very few activities. So there should be a balance in the consortium.
Okay, sir, thank you. So the next question is, what is the minimum expectation of funding agency to avail fund for social sciences projects?
Minimum expectation. I mean, I cannot answer this because the thing is that, let's say you want to do something or improve some process to uplift the health status or the social status of poor people or something like that. If you have this thing in mind, then you actually first you develop a concept. The concept is important because then you call, or you can find a call which says that this is for a particular social cause, and you need to see that how much funding is available in that particular call, and then you design your idea according to the funding bracket. So that's why I said that it is very important that your whole effort should be within that funding bracket. If you think that your entire idea cannot be converted within that funding bracket, then you should split your idea into parts, and let's say you take the funding for the first part and wait for another call to take the funding for the next part.
Okay, so we have next question. Who all can apply for a funded project? Are there any eligibilities?
Yes, definitely there are eligibilities, and for like research calls, the person should be a professor to apply for that, and if it is a research group, it should be a senior member. So normally the project coordinator or project manager, I mean, you can be a part of the project, whatever scale you are, but that's why I said the project manager, project coordinator, and technical manager should be the senior people, let's say for the professor rank or associate professor rank. And some calls, they clearly mention that what is the minimum eligibility for applying the application. And there are calls which actually say that even, I mean, the graduation, if you are a graduate, then you can apply for the call. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question because we have an Indian audience, so they are interested to know how to avail the funding from DST or SERB from the Indian government agencies, funding agencies.
There is no thumb rule for that, actually, I would say, because as I said, that the success rate is between 7 to 13%. But the thing is that that's why I'm saying the first approach of first having an idea, then investigation, everything, and finding the right members, and then knowing how much time it will need. If you have all that information and you are very confident that you can do that, then you make a good proposal for that. There is no thumb rule for that. Sometimes a very nice idea, they don't get success, and sometimes not that nice idea, they also succeed because they write their whole content very balanced. So it is very important that you should have balance in all the three sections, at least the things that I've mentioned in the presentation.
Okay, so the next question is, will you please elaborate the technology proposals again? How much funding can we get for each categories in the technology?
Again, like for example, the latest funding that I showed you was for 5 million euros. There can be 100 million euros also, there can be funding. So once you actually see a particular call, they will clearly mention that how much funding can be sought in any category. So that's why I said that if you are, this is applicable for any kind of funding, whether it is a technology call or whether it is a generic call. They will clearly mention that how much funding is, and also they say that, let's say they say that they have they have funding for 100 million euros, and they will welcome 100 calls. That means you can say that on an average 1 million euro is available for each kind of work.
Okay, sir. So our next question is there any upper limit of amount for funding for any particular project? What is the maximum amount allotted up till now for a particular project?
This is very, tricky to answer. I cannot say that, but let's say the calls where the huge companies like Airbus and Maersk and, for example, NASA or the big organizations or CERN, they are seeking a lot of funding. I mean, it's in like millions of euros and even higher. And also there are fundings which are as low as, let's say, 100,000 euros or maybe 10,000 euros. Like there are some supporting funding also, like if you have some project going on and you want to seek funding to solve some issues within that project, you can also have a collaborative funding, and you can opt for, let's say, 100,000 euros or 10,000 euros or whatever. So such kind of small fundings are also there. So again, it is very important that you have your idea, your consortium. Of course, if the strength of the consortium is big and the time duration to complete that project is large, then you definitely need a high funding. You need to see that how much salary you're going to pay, how much amount you are going to pay for the resources, and how much other things are required, like traveling, or let's say meeting with the people, or let's say dissemination activities. So you need to calculate all that, and then you see that what will be the amount that you will be seeking for, and then you can actually look for the costs accordingly. It's all hit and trial, because there's no, as I said, there's no thumb rules. That's why this area it's all depends on your capability to approach.
Okay, so we have a very interesting question. Do we write or do we talk about risk analysis while writing a project proposal?
Yes, definitely. You need to convey it very clearly, that what is the risk that that your project fails, because there cannot be any project which does not have any risk. There should be a risk, and you should clearly identify that risk, because you need to also say that what are the risks that you can manage and what are the risks that you cannot manage. For example, there are risks that, let's say, some of the consortium partner, they simply leave the consortium. They say that I will not do, right in the middle of the project. Then how you're going to handle that? You need to mention that. Let's say this kind of situation, an unprecedented situation where there's a COVID-19 situation, and where all the projects, not all, but most of the projects are on halt because they cannot travel, they cannot access the facilities and all that. So these kind of risks, you need to mention that. Whatever, I mean, you need to specify that.
Okay, sir. So our next question is how to contact professors abroad to tie up for a project in India or for a project on international level.
Okay. Actually, you need to meet professors in the international events, create some networking. Actually, I think that platforms like LinkedIn and I won't say Facebook, but you can also approach them. But LinkedIn is also a good. But the best way is to get into I mean, participate in the conferences, international conferences, get in touch with the professors, and then you can, it is a cascaded effect that if you know a key person, then you can actually access to other professors also. Plus, you can also take help of your friends, or maybe the professors like you, who have some international and not some, a good international experience. So they can also, I mean, they are also a kind of gateways to get in touch with the professor. Again, there is no thumb rule. It all depends on how much able you are to create an impression in your first meeting with the professors. And especially, I think many of you you might have traveled abroad, or will be traveling abroad. So if you're traveling abroad, then you actually see a chance, set up a meeting with the professors, and come up with a good idea, come up with a good intention to meet them, so that they get really attracted
Okay, sir, we have a lot of questions coming up, but I'll take one last question. So a participant is asking, how do we deal with the surprises or changes in the research project while, or for an ongoing research project?
I mean, the project, if you're writing a proposal, a project which is already in the process.
I guess the participant wants to know, while doing a research project, if there are some uncertainties and some changes and something which you are not have done according to what you have written in the project proposal, then how to deal with that?
Yes, so as we discussed earlier, that you need to mention these things in your risk. And it is very important that, and that's where the role of project manager and project coordinator, that's why we need a senior people in this case, because they have experience to deal with such things. So if there is, either you have mentioned in your risk management, and then if something happens which is directly, which is already enlisted in the risk management table, then probably you can directly take the excerpt from that, and then you can apply that. But if there are certain unprecedented things, that like the COVID-19 thing, then I think the project coordinator is actually playing a good part. I can see here that project coordinators are playing a good part in keeping the project going and talking to the consortium and all that. So project coordinator and project managers play a very good part in this.
Okay, Dr. Anbuj, so we'll end up the question and answer session here now. And I thank you for your splendid and informative presentation. Indeed, writing a funded project proposal is a tough and challenging task, and a clear understanding in how to approach is important to know for researchers like us. Your presentation was exquisite and elaborative. I thank you on behalf of the management at IILM and our dear participants for giving us your valuable time and taking time out for conducting a session in our FDP. Thank you, Dr. Ambuj. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone who's watching, who has watched my presentation, and good luck to everyone. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So now we have with us now our second speaker, Dr. Mirza Sarwar Beg. Dr. Mirza has completed his Doctor of Philosophy in Biosciences in the year 2019 from the Department of Biosciences, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. He has over 3 years of teaching experience in various departments, bioscience, biotech, and computer science of Jamia Millia Islamia. His research experience are in the areas of molecular biology, virology, plant physiology, plant tissue culture, and applied bioinformatics. He is presently working as a research associate in ICMR and lecturer in the Department of Molecular Medicine at Jamia Hamdard University. In his session, he will be covering the topic on expectation of evaluators of funded research projects and what to target. Dr. Mirza, on behalf of all of us, I welcome you to this FDP and to deliver your talk in the FDP session. So over to you, Dr. Mirza. Welcome. So you need to please unmute your mic, please.
Purnima ma'am, you can unmute him.
Yeah, I'm trying to
We are
unmute him.
trying. Yeah. Purnima ma'am, you try, I'll stop.
Yeah, I'm trying, but it is not giving an option to unmute. Mirza sir, can you please hear us? If you can please unmute yourself.
Unmute. I have unmuted.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay. Thank you. So welcome, sir. You may please continue with your session. Thank you.
Okay, well. Good morning, participants and the other students. I am going to present a webcast entitled Project Proposal Writing, Expectations of Evaluator of Funded Research Project and What to Target. I will try to deal each and every part of this title, project, what exactly is project proposal and how to write a good proposal. What are the expectations of an evaluator from your proposal? And what are the main targets of your proposal? So in the beginning, on the first slide, I can say in a simple sentence that writing of a project proposal in the present era is an art, and acceptance of a proposal by a funding agency is really a science. So I will unveil these things in my preceding slides. Here in the next slide, I am going to discuss about the expectations of the event.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you please share your screen so that the presentation is visible to all the participants?
Okay.
Yes, sir, it has appeared. Please click on the full screen mode.
Okay. So I am starting from the initial, from the start.
Yes, sir.
From the title page. Okay.
Sir, can you please put it on the full screen mode, please?
Okay. Yeah, is it visible on the full
Yes,
screen?
sir. Perfect, sir. Thank you. You may continue.
So the entitle, my webcast is entitled Project Proposal Writing, then expectations of evaluators or the reviewers of funded research project and what to target. So I am going to discuss in 3 broad headings. The whole lecture is going to be discussed in 3 broad headings. The first is what exactly is project writing of a project proposal, and what are the expectations of the evaluators or the reviewers of the funding agency, and how we have to target the reviewer, or how we have to target, or how we have to fetch a project from the funding agency. So I will discuss all these things in my preceding slides. So I have written a simple statement, but it is not so simple. Thus, what exactly is I want to say, writing a project proposal in the present era is an art, and acceptance of the proposal by funding agency is really a science. So you can understand the thing by moving to the next slides. So I will escape from the first part of the how we are going to write a project proposal. I will discuss it in the next slides. First, what are the expectations of an evaluator? What are their expectations of the evaluator of the funding agencies, and what they expect from my proposals? So there are at least, they have 3 expectations. Broadly, we can classify these expectations in 3 categories. The first one is relevance. What is the relevance of our research proposal? Then at what quality I have written the proposal, and what is the feasibility of this proposal? So relevance is going to be judged on at least 3 parameters. What do you want to do this research? Why do you want to do this research? Any evaluator can ask a simple question: why I will invest you? Are you a right person to invest or not? So you have to justify, yes, I am the right person, and my research proposal is very relevant and relevant. So then he will just again ask, will this research adding to the state of knowledge? It means, will your relevance, will your research proposal will add on in the state of knowledge? Then we will convince him that, of course, my proposal will produce high impacting publication or XYZ. Then the relevance can be estimated in another parameter. What is the expected outcome of your proposal? Then we will try to convince, or a proposer will try to convince that I may get patents or another collaborations or industrial partnership from this proposal. Okay, so on these 3 parameters, the relevance of your proposal can be judged. Then the evaluators or reviewer ask about the quality. It means, what is the quality of your research, or what is the quality of your proposal? So on this juncture, the evaluator will ask, how are you doing the research? It means, what are the methods you are adopting to perform the research, and is your qualification sufficient to do this research? It means whether you are work or individual PI, or whether you are going to work in a teamwork. So the qualification of a proposer is also estimated before dispersal of the fund. So what on the third point, the feasibility of the research proposal is going to be judged. On the part of feasibility, whether the proposal is going to be properly implemented or not. So on this point, can you achieve the goal with you or with your team? So feasibility will be judged on this basis, whether you are individually handling the project or whether you are working in a team to handle the project. Or can you achieve the goal within the time horizon, or can you achieve the goal with respect to the resources which have been allocated in the form of budget? So at least the major expectation of an evaluator is the relevance, quality, and feasibility of your proposal. If all these three parameters, if you are judged, then the evaluator will try to evaluate your proposal on another features. So there are some pre and post approval stages of a research proposal. The pre-proposal stages are categorized in the concept note in the form of pre-proposal, full proposal, and proposal defense. Most of the time, they are optional. Sometimes a full proposal is accepted in a single go, or sometimes the funding agency asks you a concept proposal or pre-proposal. When these two stages are screened out, then the final proposal is going to be asked. But these are another part, and these are the pre-approval stages. And when your full proposal is going to be accepted, then the funding agency calls you to defend or present your full proposal through oral presentation within a limited time before a board of directors or before the experts. So you have to justify your proposal before the experts. When the proposal is going to be approved after the proposal defense, another stages are known as post-approval stages. In this, after approval, you have to submit the progress report at the fixed time interval of 1 month, 1 year, or 6 months, etc., until the closure of your project. So you have to submit the progress report on a regular basis or regular interval of 1 year or 2 year or XYZ. Then after the approval of your project, what is the outcome of your research? And the outcome of your research is going to be evaluated on the basis of number of papers or the number of presentations you have done during the course of this project. So how many papers you have published, and how many posters or oral presentations you have done during this tenure of this project. Then scientific publications and extension manuals and policy briefs are going to be discussed. And the third part of the title is what to target. It is the most important part. Before putting our proposal, how and what to target. The proposal must be capable of convincing the evaluation committee. It is the most important part. Before writing a proposal, we should know that our proposal is very convincing for the evaluation committee. So this is the first target or our goal, to write such a proposal which can be easily forwarded or which can be easily accepted by the evaluation committee. When this stage is completed, there are 4 major goals which a proposer have to attain. The first one is credibility, then achievability, then practicability, and fourth, reproducibility of the research. Credibility is going to be judged on the basis of whether your proposal is true, or whether your proposal is innovative or your own, or you are going to handle it as such by your own. So credibility is the most important goal of a proposer before putting the proposal to a funding agency. Then whether he will achieve the proposed work within the time frame or not. So a proposer should always prepare such a research proposal which can be achieved within the time frame. It should have a practical aspect, not only the theoretical or having a very telescopic science. It should be very practical. The proposal should be very practical, which can be practically implemented by other team of researcher if they want to reproduce your work. So after getting these four hurdles or goals, which can say we can easily say hurdles or goals, the another is category, and the another purpose or another way of the proposer is to address at least four of people present in the evaluation committee, which will evaluate your proposal. First one, I would like police.
Participants, I think we have a connection problem at the speaker side. Please be patient and we'll be connected soon. So please be patient.
Sir, Mirza sir,
I think he's lost his connection.
sir, your voice is not audible. Hello.
Lost his connection.
Okay, let me call him. There is some connectivity issue. He is just connecting back. So it will just take 1 minute.
Participants, please stay connected. Dr. Mirza will be joining us very soon. Yes, Dr. Mirza. Can you please unmute yourself? Sir, please unmute.
Unmute.
Yes, it is visible and it is audible both.
Yeah. Sorry for interruption. I am going to the next slide. So, due to interruption, there is some technical errors. Okay. Are you? It is okay. Fine. Okay. So now,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Sorry. Now I am going to discuss how to write a good research proposal. This is the main targeted work of any researcher, budding researcher, to how to write a good research proposal after the completion of masters or after the completion of doctor of philosophy. We want to fetch a research project from any good funding agency to do my own independent research. So for doing our independent research, you have to write a good research proposal. And for this, at least you have some good capability, inbuilt capability inside you, or you have to develop some capabilities inside a budding researcher. So be patient, be practical. This is one of the most important part. For writing a good proposal, you have to be practical. It means you have to write a proposal with a full balanced mode, with a realistic understanding of what can be achieved. So you have not to very ambitious or very under ambitious. You have to write exactly the practical approach with balanced realistic understanding. So be practical. It is the most important property which we have to develop as a budding researcher. Then be a good planner. It means we have to survey the literature or research article and survey article and commentaries, etc., in the literature, and develop new avenues to choose and research. Why I have chosen this research proposal or this work, we have to justify what have been done and what I am going to do and what is the gap in between these. So we have to be a good planner. We have to have a good planner. Then the third property which we have to develop as a researcher, be persuasive. To convince reviewers, funding agencies, educational institutions, and supervisor that the research is worthy. It means we have to convince that my research is going to act and it is worthy to be funded. So be persuasive. The fourth one is be crystal clear. It means our aim and objectives and our concepts should be crystal clear, unless and until our proposal will not clear. So before writing a crystal clear proposal, we should have our own concept crystal clear to write a proposal in a simple language such that a non-specialist can comprehend and easily understand what a proposer wants to say. Be a good finisher. This property should also be incarnated in our personality. Be a good finisher. It means objectives which I am mentioning in my proposal should be achieved within a stipulated timeline. And sixth property, which is not very necessary, but make a broader link through social networking or social engineering with scientific community or scientists to discuss your ideas or borrow their ideas for your own research. So it is also important to have a networking capability, developing a networking capability inside a budding researcher. Okay, then what are the chances of rejection? Why the proposal are going to be rejected? So I am giving you some rule of thumb on account of which the research proposal are going to be rejected. First, the most important, most of the time funding agency replies the author that your proposal is not up to the standard. Rather, they say some formal reasons we are not accepting your proposal. And what may be these formal reasons? These formal reasons may be missing element in the submission of documents. It means your documents are not up to the mark which you are submitting or which you are reflecting your profile. Then deviation from the recommended structure and style. It means if you have written a proposal which is not in the proper format as suggested by the funding agency, then this deviation may also lose your chance to get a proposal, fetch a proposal or get a proposal. And third one and most important is poor presentation of your proposal. And the poor presentation of a proposal may be due to poor English writing, careless prepared and incomplete figures and tables presented in the proposal, and inconsistently cited or incomplete references. These are the poor presentation are the most important factor which causes which increases or which amplifies the chances of rejection. So before writing a good proposal, you have to prepare a good presentable proposal. And what are the bare minimum requirements which we have to know before writing a good proposal? I will discuss or I will unveil these things in my coming slide. So we will discuss some writing skills and do's and don'ts during proposal writing. What are the some writing skills which we have to develop, whether we are of native English speaker or not, whether because English is now an international acclaimed or internationally most communicating language in scientific world. So we have to develop some writing skills for our research proposal. And what are the starting point of our proposal? Before writing a proposal, learn or read the literature, read something more than literature, and learn from others' experiences, which is very important factor, which our experience is not supporting me, then I have to support me from the others' experiences. So it is the most important rule of thumb before writing a proposal. Then write the proposal in simple and direct language, which can be easily understandable for the reviewer. Then use unbiased language. Never use the biased language in the proposal, because a scientific temperament does not allow to use biasing in any science. So use unbiased language for the good betterment of the scientific temperament. Another point is strictly follow the recommended structure and format of the funding agency. It is also an important point. Otherwise, you may lose the chance of getting the follow a logical order. It means you have to follow in proper logic from the top to the bottom of the proposal, from the page first to the last. Be clear, concise, and complete. It is important. Don't use vague words like large area in the text. Rather, put a exact figure. It means 3.5 million hectare XYZ, blah, blah. Get to the point quickly and stick. It means don't reshuffle from your points, what you have said earlier and what you have said later. There is no confliction in these two statements. So point should be clear and stick to your own statements, and don't change your statement from one page to another page. Then cite only references that are relevant and absolutely necessary. So because proposal is not a thesis, so don't use so many references. Rather cite only the most important, most significant references that is absolute or absolute necessary for your proposal. Then include only graphical elements that are necessary. It means that picture or graph XYZ if required. Or if you have done your preliminary data or information, then you can generate the graphical elements in your proposal. Use standard units and abbreviations and be consistent throughout the proposal. The most important part, always use a spell checking during the typographical error in your typing. So this is the most annoying part for a reviewer. So be careful and check the spelling properly twice and thrice after the writing of the proposal. And when you are using the abbreviations, it should be explained once at a time. So these are the some do's and don'ts, and mostly these are do's to discuss. before a proposal. Most of the time when we write a proposal, when we use some unnecessary words, so prevent from such unnecessary words in our proposal and write only a permitted standard of English phrases or proverbs which are allowed for a good proposal. So these are some examples which I am reflecting on the screen, so you can understand what I exactly want to say. So these are some unnecessary words which we have to ignore and which have to use the permitted words which are most of the time a scientific community uses in its proposal. Then another important factor is lengthy expressions. Don't write a very big sentence or lengthy sentence with lengthy expressions. So use short words, short sentences, and terminate your sentence where the meaning is going to be completed. So there are some other set of lengthy expression and short expression which I have mentioned on this slide to be careful while writing a good proposal. So what exactly is the content of a proposal? Or a research proposal is a blended of these headings. So we have to have put these broad headings under a sequential manner. So the content of a research proposal are the starting and the most important component of a proposal is title of the proposal. And the title of a proposal should be catchy and appealing. It is the most important part, because now a traditional titles or traditional subtitle is not going to be entertained. So we should have a catchy and appealing title, and which is sometimes we can say from the different from the league. So use a catchy title for your proposal. Then another component of the research proposal is background or introduction. It means it should be idea driven and innovative. I will discuss these heading under the oncoming slides. So background or introduction is also an important and integral part of a research proposal. Then rationale of your study. It should be strong and clear. So rationale of the study should be stated strongly and clearly, so that a reviewer is going to be convinced. Then review of literature. It is not a very important component. Rather, some funding agencies have asked for the review of literature, or some ignores the review of literature. But for a budding researcher, we should have a control on our review of literature. So a review of literature should be written in a chronological and well-connected manner, interwoven manner. So we will discuss how to write a review of literature. Then the fifth important component is objectives and methodology. Objectives and methodology should be clear-cut and briefly stated. Another important component is ethical consideration. So most of the time in the life sciences or in the medical sciences, the ethical considerations are very important while handling the patients, while handling the animals, while handling the cell lines and tissues, etc. So in this case, ethical considerations are very important, and we should have met the standard of ethical standards in our proposal. Then budget. Budget is the most important part of our proposal, and it should be fairly declared. And the timeline, whether your research proposal is for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, etc., you have to mention the clear-cut timeline of your research proposal. And then another important component is appendices of the documents and the references or bibliography or of your cited work. Here I am showing you some part of a research proposal is scientific and some part is associated with financial or wealth generation. So when we do our work in a consortium manner, then we have to generate when we have to depend our financial support, and we have to generate wealth through our own research. But the most important for a single PI based in work or research proposal, which is not heavily funded, we have to focus on this funneling of research planning. So what should be the funneling of the research planning? It is clearly differentiated into two stages: pre-empirical stage and empirical stage. So a scientific part which we have to perform during our research proposal, we have to perform pre-empirical stages and the empirical stages. The pre-empirical stages are considered to be literature theory and review of literature, ideas and research areas and context, and amalgamation of all these three in a form of problem statement. Then the problem which I have generated or idea which I have generated has to be generating a research question. And when these research questions are generated by a proposer, it should have some hypothesis behind his problem. So we have to generate our hypothesis and objective how to solve these hypothesis. If these objectives are going to be solved, then data or collection data is going to be analyzed, and then hypothesis testing, and then final knowledge development is going to be handled. So this part of empirical stage is going to generate a knowledge source. So the funneling is based on context, literature review, questions, hypothesis, and goal. It means starting from the general knowledge up to the highly specific knowledge, we have to prepare ourselves to handle these stages properly before writing a research proposal. So I am going to discuss the most important parts or components of a research proposal, which can be a background, which is known as background or introduction. So introduction should clearly stated. Introduction is the initial pitch of an idea. So we have to mention our introduction in a very brief or in a very compact and comprehensive way. So we have to write our ideas in a very clear cut and well through thoughtful ideas which form the backbone of the proposal. Then these creates interest in the reviewer about the topic and the proposal. When these ideas or when these thoughtful ideas are going to be analyzed by the reviewer, when it is going to illuminate him, then he adequately address whether you are going to adequately address the gaps in the previous research or not. If yes, how will this research add knowledge, practice and policy in this area, and whether your introduction is discussing national and international importance of the proposed topic, and then finally, what is the significance of the proposed work. So these all aspects are going to be discussed in your introduction. And for writing a good introduction, a budding researcher should have knowledge of search engine and literature databases, where now full-fledged research article and publications are available on one go in the form of Google, Google Scholar, PubMed, Scopus, Medline, and blah, blah, several large number of literature databases which are free of cost. Without investing a single penny, we can get the most updated information or data from these literature databases. Then another point, broad heading of our proposal is rationale of the study. What is the logic? What is the rationale of a study? Why you are going to perform this study? So the rationale of the study should be stated about the hypothesis or hypothesis of the research proposal, and then it should convey a strong message to the reviewer that your work is novel and innovative. So the rationale should be justified that this is innovative and novel idea. It is not going to be borrowed from other. Review of literature is another component of a proposal. So I have mentioned it in a bottom-down approach that you have to gather the information in a chronological order from the past to the present. We have to discuss the thing from the past to the present or present to the past, but we have to analyze the data since last 5 years or 10 years in a chronological way. Then summarize each research article or paper which you are studying for writing your literature in a single paragraph, and concise paragraph is going to be highlighted in the form of crux in your proposal. Then arrange intelligently so that a reviewer can grasp or infer about your understanding related to the field of research. So reviewer can read your brain by simply a study of the review of literature, which can give the illumination of your understanding of the subject. And finally, progression of the review can move from more general to the more focused studies, from up to the climax. It means the review of literature should be connected in the form of a story from up to the climax. The objective should be clearly stated. How many objectives you have chosen in your proposal? If you have chosen 5 objectives, 6 objectives, then you should broadly classify these objectives into 2 categories. First may be the primary objective, which may be experimental, and some may be secondary objective, which may be computational, because most of the time now hypothesis testing is going to be implemented on a computational way. So bioinformatics or computational biology gives a new avenue for the justification of your proposal through the computational or in silico analysis. So now the funding agencies just want whether your objectives are computationally verified or not. So we can categorically put our objectives in 2 forms: primary objectives, which are heavily experimental, which is very expensive. So the funding agencies judges whether your objectives are totally experimental, or they are heavily expensive, or they are some much expensive. So we intelligently we can handle our objectives in the primary and secondary one. Then we should select such objectives which are easy to approve from the ethical committee. So before taking the objective, we have to take an intelligent idea how to get the approval first. This is the main motto, to how to get the approval. So in this context, we have to select such objective which can be easily ethically cleared. And each and every objective, if you have taken 6 objectives, that it means at least 2 objectives should be completed in a year for the 3-year project. So you have to clearly mention the timeline of your one objective, whether it is completed in 6 months or 1 year. It should be also mentioned in the proposal. And beyond these criteria, we should also have an idea whether the instrumentation facility available in the institute or university allows us to do my experiment. So before writing an objective, we should have an idea of the instrumentation facility available at the university or institute. So this is the whole. After the completion of our objective or attaining our objective, we generate data, and after the processing of data, we produce information, and the information finally becomes the source of knowledge. So objectives are the avenue, or objective is the threshold from where the data, information, and knowledge is going to be generated. Then each and every objective should be discussed under the heading of methodology or research plan. So in the research plan section, we have to discuss what the objective I have written and by which mean or by which source I will attain this objective. So for this, you have to write the exact appropriate scientific method to solve your objective, including specific references to website, databases, and key text author. in writing a methodology, the best way is to draw a flow chart to depict the whole problem or whole objective, and by which mean you are going to solve the problem. So draw a flow chart. Drawing a flow chart is one of the best way to understand the complete research plan of your work to a reviewer. And sometimes other components may be the part of research plan. It means in the case of medical science, you have an idea of population or sample size, whether you have data collection or what mode of data collection, whether the data, what is the neutrality of data, what are the consistency of data, what is applicability, and data analysis. These are the other part of the method, research plan. Then final, ethical clearance. Ethical clearance is the most important part for the medical research. So where your proposal is having some ethical standard using animal source, whether you are using patient's sample or XYZ. So you have to get the full ethical consideration in your proposal, and you should not take it lightly, or you should not take it on a lighter mode. Rather, ethical consideration is going to be screened very strictly. So ethical consideration should be properly addressed in your proposal. Another section, or the most important section, is the budget. So what amount of budget, or how much amount is involved for the completion of your project. So you have to clearly state the cost required for purchasing of instrument, consumables, travel grants, books and journals, stationery items, and all other aspects involved in the research. Then additional allowances or overhead for unpredictable disaster, delay and rising costs, etc. You have to also calculate these things and mention in your proposal. Then manpower, if there is involvement of manpower in your proposal, then you have clearly mentioned about how many manpowers you are involved and what are their gross salaries. You have to put in your budget section, and all the budget should be well justified from the top to the bottom. You should have clearly stated the timeline of, in the tabulated form, in how much, whether in 1 year or whether in 6 months, how many objectives you are going to achieve. You should have a breakup of the timeline in the form of tabulated data. Then appendices, it comprises of documentation work, what are supporting documents you are submitting. The appendices are specific for proposal, but documents that are usually required include informed consent form for the medical point of view, informed consent form, supporting document, questionnaires, measurement tools, and patient information. These all should be provided in the form of appendices, which are very necessary for the health sciences regarding proposals. And finally, we have to cite, the sources of references in our proposal in the form of reference or in the bibliography or reference section. So these whole and soul, what we have just discussed is the proposal writing, and I think this is helpful for the coming researcher. From my side, I hope it is okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving an extraordinary presentation. We have been receiving a pool of positive comments and compliments from the participants. And I would like to start with the question and answer round now. And the first question to you is how to target for DST and SERB level funded projects.
Yeah. So DST and SERB funded projects, should be clearly, they have a clear guidelines available on their website. So we should have follow the strict guidelines, and the proposal should be highly innovative. And what we are going to ask for the funding agency should be clearly easily implementable in the form of our own limited resources. So these are the certain limitations for a researcher to write before a proposal.
Okay, sir. Thank you. We have another question. How many objectives should we keep in our research proposal?
Okay, for a 3-year, for my experience, I am sharing the experience. For a 3 years proposal, research proposal, you should have at least 5 to 6, not more than 5 to 6 proposal, and always take a very good opportunity if you are a computational part, if you are handling a computational science, or you are having a background of computational science, then you should put some objective regarding your own computational work and some objective in the experimental work, because the funding agency is don't uh, put invest a big amount of handsome amount of money in your experiment, whether they are going to come a positive outcome or not. So always use primary objectives and secondary objectives, computational as well as experimental, 5 to 6 objectives.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. We have another question. What are the exact expectations of the evaluators of the funded project agencies?
Yeah. First, the most important part is whether your proposal will develop a good knowledge source in the form of high impacting publications, whether you are getting patents, whether you are getting international or national collaboration from your own side, or how much marketable product or marketable product are going to be produced, for example, vaccine or XYZ from your proposal. So these are also considerable while writing a proposal.
Okay, sir. So another question is, are the government colleges faculties preferred more over the private college faculties to accept their research proposals?
As such, from my experience, it is not necessary. The goodness of your proposal is going to be honored. Whether how much or how refined or how good proposal you have written, it will be honored, irrespective of whether you are from government college or whether you are having a private college. Funding agency don't bother about these things.
Okay, sir. So we have another question. How to choose the team members for the project? Do we need to keep our colleagues, or do we need senior members or professors to write with us?
This one is the most interesting question. Most of the time, assistant professor grade or professor grade, most of the time, because when we select a principal investigator of very busy schedule, for example, head of department or principal investigator very busy in own academic work, so in this case our own research is going to be suffered. So we should prefer associate or assistant professor grade scientist to work in a team, or a young energy boosts more. I think it is my own personal experience.
So when you say that we should have young team, assistant and associate professors, so will it make a difference if we have an added a professor or a senior member, or will it absolutely do if young researchers only apply for the project?
It is not a rule, not it. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, because it is not a rule of thumb, but most of the time, because when a professor or a very head of department, they are heavily engaged in their research academics or in their own academic works or their extracurricular activities, then sometimes we miss the scientific temperament or discussion, day by day discussions. So it will, at least it will hamper our own research. And when associate or a professor grade is okay, but very busy person or very, for example, you are going to work with the director of the institute, then a director is obviously, if he is a director or a vice chancellor, he is obviously very busy in the schedule. So I prefer to work with such a young team which can participate energy positively from the both sides.
Okay. So we have a question coming from a participant. Can only doctoral researchers avail funding for the research project?
Most of the time, because in our country, the threshold is doctorate for getting independent research. Before, because at the stage of masters or master in technology, they are not going to so much entertain, because they have no independent experience of research. So at least a doctorate is required for getting the funding project.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the question. I'll ask one more question. Should we, if we have a project available, should we apply to the state level funding first or directly to the national level funding?
Of course, the national level funding is more important, and it will put a golden feather in your own profile. So, of course, and if there is, if you get, the state level is not bad, but preference should be given to the central funding agency.
Okay, sir. Sir, we have a lot of questions, but still, I'll ask you one last question now. So the last question is, what key points would you just mention to apply for a project level funding, both national and international?
Okay. From my little experience, I will say the rationale or logic or hypothesis should be very emphatic, and for proving your own hypothesis, the objectives and methodology should be highly integrated and very clear cut stated. So these three parts, hypothesis and how to validate your hypothesis, you are putting objectives in a very beautiful way and arranging these objectives, and how these objectives is going to be attained by sophisticated experiment or less sophisticated experiment or with computational experiments. So these all three sources are important: hypothesis, objectives, and methodology. I think so.
Okay, sir. So, sir, thank you very much. And it was indeed a wonderful session in context to project proposal writing. On behalf of the IILM fraternity and our dear participants, I would like to thank you for sparing your valuable time and sharing your views and experience with us on the project proposal writing. It was an extraordinary delivery session by you. And thank you, Dr. Mirza. Thank you very much. So, dear participants, we have now come to an end of the 5-day FDP on research methodology, tools and techniques. Thank you for your kind participation and your interaction with us. I will now hand over to Dr. Garima Gupta, FDP team head, to deliver her vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Poonima. Thank you, Mirza sir, for delivering such a wonderful lecture. Sir, can you please stop the screen sharing?
Stop sharing. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. The root of all goodness lies in the soil of appreciation of goodness. I, Dr. Garima Gupta, on behalf of FDP Organizing Committee, would like to thank our management of IILM College of Engineering and Technology for giving us an opportunity to manage such an event. As you all know that an event like this has not happened before on such a platform, so me and my team faced a lot of challenges, but we are fortunate enough to be backed by a very motivated team. I would also like to express my gratitude to Dr. Jyotsna Singh, Director, IILM College of Engineering and Technology, for providing her valuable guidance and words of encouragement at every stage. I cannot thank enough to my team, which includes Dr. Poonima Lala Mehta, Dr. Deepak Bansal, and Mr. Finney Wilson for their involvement and willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zone. I would like to express our sincere thanks to our distinguished speakers, Dr. John Rajan, Vellore Institute of Technology, Dr. Ashish Manchanda, University School of Management Studies, Guru Gobind Singh, Indraprasth University, Dr. Poonima Lala Mehta, IILM College of Engineering and Technology, Dr. Vinod Kumar Sangbal, Head, Department of Education and Training, Gautam Buddha University, Dr. Divya Anand Subba, Scientist C, Scientific Analysis Group, DRDO, Mr. Ashutosh Singh, IILM College of Engineering and Technology, Dr. Naveen Kumar, Amrita School of Engineering, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapith. Dr. Amboj Kumar, Aarhus University, Denmark, and Dr. Mirza Sarwar Beg, Jamia Hamdard, for demonstrating their specialized knowledge on various tools and technologies of research methodology. We are really grateful to all of them for taking out their valuable time. I must say that the knowledge transferred will certainly help a lot of budding new researchers and even to the experienced ones. I'm highly indebted for the enthusiasm shown by all the participants for joining these sessions every day and sincerely listening to all the speakers. This was reflected in their queries, which made this FDP more interactive and interesting. We would also like to thank all our participants for their valuable feedbacks given in the live chat and also for the feedback they will be submitting at the end of this FDP. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to share my thanks to everyone involved directly or indirectly to make this event a grand success. Thank you all. I will end with a quote by Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forgot, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So I'm sure we all have learned a lot in this FDP. Thank you all. Thank you very much for joining us. Now there are a few announcements which I would like to say. First is, as we have received a lot of participations, so the certificates will be provided in slots and you will get them in the coming week. Please fill the feedback form which will be shared with you along with today's quiz. And the last announcement that due to some connectivity and network issues, some of our participants were not able to fill yesterday and day before yesterday's quiz. So we will be opening the response for these two quizzes for just 2 hours after this session so they can fill those quizzes. And now I'm sure you all have enjoyed this FDP. We are coming up with another FDP on outcome-based education next week. The registration link for the same has been shared in the live chat, and also we'll be sharing the link along with the today's quiz. So please register that FDP will also be as informative as this one. Thank you all. Thank you very much.